Also look here.
Right there? Is that where I look?
Yeah.
Hey guys! Welcome to my channel. My name's Michaela. I'm so glad you're here. I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel for a really long time. It's really on my heart and it's finally time, so I feel really excited and I'm so happy that you're here. I really want to share my personal story and my struggles, and I know we're all going through a really hard time right now in this quarantine, and I'm just really mindful that this is a really challenging time for everyone, but especially women and men struggling with eating disorders. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. My eating disorder is called orthorexia, and the thing is, a lot of people don't know that much about eating disorders, and there's many different types and they're not all discussed. And I think that anyone who struggles with an eating disorder, whether that's binge eating disorder, orthorexia, anorexia, bulimia, we all have really similar struggles in our core. And my eating disorder was really difficult to identify because mine started with healthy eating and being in the gym all the time. So things that our society really praises were really key elements of my eating disorder. My eating disorder started when I was about 21, and it started for me in a health psychology class. We had to do this behavioral plan where we implemented different gym days and had to write out a food log and everything, which I know a lot of people who struggle with eating disorders are really familiar with, tracking certain things and planning and scheduling. And I really hadn't done that much before this. And when I started implementing these different regimens, I started noticing results. And of course, what happens for most of us is when we lose weight, other people comment on it, which can feel really toxic, but also we feel really excited by hearing that validation from other people. So I started hearing validation that I looked better, that I looked great, all these positive things that meant a lot to me at the time, and I felt really addicted to that feeling. So it really spiraled from that point on, and for 5 years after that, it escalated and escalated and escalated till I was so far gone that I didn't know what I could do. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't even know that I had an eating disorder. It just felt like normal life to me. All I knew was I felt miserable, and no matter how small I got or how beautiful I appeared, I felt so empty inside. I didn't feel connected to myself. I felt like I was just an ornament for other people. And all I had to look forward to in my day was getting ready in the morning, of course after I went to the gym, and I just spent my days thinking about food 24/7, being consumed by these obsessive, self-loathing thoughts about how horrible my body looked and what I needed to change and how imperfect I was. I would constantly compare myself to everyone else. And it was a really chaotic, difficult time for me. So I just want to emphasize that I really understand what that deep, dark struggle is. One day I just woke up and I just felt exhausted. I just felt tired. I felt like my life was just this continuous little mouse on a wheel, round and round and round. Gym, tracking calories, restricting, binging, making up for the binging. And I really thought to myself, is this how I'm gonna live for the rest of my life? Is this normal? And you know what, to be honest, it got to the point that I even really wanted to make myself purge, I wanted to vomit. And when I started feeling those urges come up, when I was already binging and restricting and in the gym 7 days a week and eating not enough food for my body at all, I just said, this is not me. This doesn't feel like Michaela, this isn't right. And I actually sought treatment about 14 months ago is when I stepped into a treatment center. I went in for an intake and they told me, yeah, Michaela, you have an eating disorder. And since then, like I said, recovery has changed my life. It definitely hasn't been an easy journey. It's something you have to choose each and every single day, but I'm here to tell you that it's worth it. They tell you oftentimes in recovery that recovery is all over the place. It's definitely not linear. It's like this crazy circular squiggly line path, and it's so true. I've had times during this past year and a half where I felt like I was back to square one, or I felt like I was completely healed and everything in between. And I just want to empower you to remember that everything you put into your recovery is there permanently to last. Some days we feel like all our progress is gone. It's not. Every single day that you choose recovery, you're building this foundation that you'll have forever. And I think one of the most beautiful gifts that I've received during recovery is connecting back to my authentic self. I think our authentic self is one of the most beautiful things we can connect with. And I really think that's where we find our purpose, in knowing who we are on an authentic level and knowing why we're here in the world. And at one point in my life, I thought my only purpose on earth was to look a certain way, to look good for other people, to get external validation, to punish my body, to hate myself. But that wasn't a purpose at all. That just brought me misery. So, in sharing all of this eating disorder story and my personal journey, I just want to remind you that you're not alone, that you are so important, and your recovery is 100% worth it. I think I've done a lot of work, but something that's a huge struggle is body image. And body image is going to be something that I talk about a lot because body image affects all of us, but especially in this quarantine, it's been really flaring up for me, and I'm sure a lot of you can really relate to that as well. I think another really toxic thing during this time is that all over social media, there's a lot of memes and posts about getting a quarantine body, whatever that means, and I'm just here to remind you that that's just completely wrong and inappropriate and is not founded in reality at all. I think what's really sad about our culture is that there's just messages everywhere telling you you're not good enough. And I think that's the biggest lie that eating disorders feed into, is that you're not good enough as you are. And I feel really passionate to remind you that you're perfect just the way you are. And we're all meant to look so different, you know? I'm not supposed to have a body that looks anything other than my own body. My body's a Michaela body, and your body is whoever you are, and I think that's really special. But I know it's also easier said than done. I think what's really hard during this quarantine is we have nowhere to go. It's hard to access coping mechanisms outside of your four walls, and I think we're left alone with ourselves a lot, which means a lot of time spent up here, and I think that can really leave the eating disorder knocking on your door. So something that I've really been doing to try to ground myself in this really difficult time with the quarantine is just spending a lot of time alone and doing things like journaling and reading and reaching out to friends for support. But I just want you to know that you're not alone, and you are loved, and you are important, and you're beautiful the way you are. You don't have to change a thing. I think another thing that we really struggle with in the eating disorder journey is control. I think that's something that many of us struggle with, wanting to hold on so tight when really all we have to do is just let go and trust that everything's going to work out. And I think during this time with so much uncertainty, we're just really craving that control. And I think once again, that's when your eating disorder wants to say, hey, remember me? I can offer you all this control. But I just want to remind you, that's a lie. There's no control in an eating disorder. The eating disorder ends up controlling you, and before you know it, you're spiraling, and I know that that feels really scary. So during this time when you're craving control from the uncertainty, I encourage you to remember that you don't have to control anything. You can just really be very patient with yourself during this time, very compassionate, and just relish that there's some time for stillness and slowness. I think another really good thing to ground us in a time of such uncertainty is doing something like a guided meditation, just taking some time to connect to your body so that you don't feel so afraid of your body, because your body is not the enemy. I just want to empower you to remember that your body actually cares about you a lot, and no matter what you've done to your body, it always heals and it always comes back. It just wants you to love yourself eventually. But the really cool thing is there's no timeline for that. Everyone's journey is so different. I hope in these videos to cover all different types of topics, from body acceptance to intuitive eating to even body positive try-on hauls and everything in between. Any questions that you guys have, because it feels really important for me to create a community, especially during a time where everything feels uncertain and a lot of us probably feel really isolated during this quarantine and are craving connection of some type. I really want this space to be somewhere where we all support each other on your recovery journey, also to help me in my recovery journey, so that we can be a community to support and lift each other up, because I think community is so important to recovering from an eating disorder. So thank you so much for listening, and I feel really excited to create more videos for you guys and touch on any topic that feels important to your heart, because I know I have a lot to share. Okay, I love you guys so much. Remember that you are loved, you're important, and you're worth it. Okay, have such a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.